Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for coming. I'm Kevin Johns. I'm Director of Economic Development for the city's Economic Development Department. And we have a wonderful Economic Development Department as well as a wonderful Planning Department. And the planning team is doing a brilliant job. And I was talking to Paul a little earlier, Paul and Kathleen and Guinevere, and I'm trying to think of who else. Who else is here from the Planning Department? Yeah, I think we've got a great team. And it reminded me, as a city planner, I'm also a city planner, Georgia Tech, AICP, and I've done both private sector work from Charleston to the national parks, the U.S. Virgin Islands. And I think what's so great about the Imagine Austin plan is kind of the words, frankly. Imagine Austin. Imagine it 50 years from now. Imagine it 100 years from now. And the core of any great plan is the energy and innovation of the people to create a plan that really lives up to what the vision of the city is. And there's not a greater city in America at this time. And so this is a wonderful opportunity for you all to hear a brilliant lecture from somebody who also looks 50 years into the future. And I think that this will be a very fun experience. I'm going to recognize a few people that I see and our sponsors and a little outline of the presentation. And then John, who you're really here to see, is going to give about 45 minutes and then open it up for public discussion. So a couple of my notes to myself. Are there any local elected officials here? I want to make sure to recognize. Okay, all right, that's good. That was a faux pas. I didn't mean it that way. I'm so sorry. I never say things like that. But I'd like to recognize a few other people. Sly Majid with the mayor's office is here. Sly heads up the mayor's Innovation Zone Committee, which is a brilliant group of public and private people. And I see some of the people here from that committee. Would you all raise your hand? Okay. Thank you, Michelle. A few other people, that was, Michelle is with the Chamber of Commerce and is doing some brilliant work. I'm just pointing these people out so that if you have a chance during the break or afterwards, please feel free to chat with them. Charlie Betts, I saw Charlie here with the Downtown Alliance. Charlie's super duper, I like this dude. Fred Schmidt, who's leading our effort to create 11 science cities around the world, and he's led the effort to open up the Hackney area of East London. Fred, thank you very much for all the work you're doing. Chris Kennedy from Leadership, from Austin Leadership. Dave Sullivan, thank you, Dave, for coming. My team, Synovia, Joy, Preston, from the Economic Development folks. Very, very good team. And I think Janet was here somewhere hiding. Oh, there you are, Janet. Thank you. And Janet just worked out to get us $650,000 worth of grants from around the United States and two cool, very competitive things, which I won't talk about, but thank you. And next to her is Ms. Houlihan, who runs our music, so a lot of the music stuff for the city. So anyway, I just wanted to give a few kind of remarks to recognize the great leadership that's here, and I know it's only going to be strengthened by your all's feedback. One of the things you'll find out from the Massachusetts, from the MassChallenge that John Harthorne is going to talk about is that they have fantastic vision. And if you look on their website, which is readily, we'll ask John to give it to you afterwards, but their mission is to catalyze renaissance, to help early-stage entrepreneurs win. And the work that they're doing creatively led Austin to send a team to, 100 people or so, to Boston to do a deep dive into it so that we can look and see whether we can customize something like this for the northwest part of our downtown associated with the medical school and the teaching hospital and all of those state-owned parking garages. So turn those into something that is kind of like what you're going to hear about. So now to my scripted talk. So Austin Speak, the Imagine Austin series of speakers is all about how we can bring the best experts from around the world, around the United States, to Austin to talk about implementation. And as an economic development director, my whole focus and my whole staff's purpose is to be like a guided missile to do economic development to implement this plan. The Imagine Austin plan is going to have to be financed. Its major components are going to have public-private partnerships to leverage the investment. And with such a high-level vision, you're going to have the revenue to make it happen. It's not enough just to build an urban rail system, but you need to wrap it in a green overlay of trails and bikes so that people will use it and generate its intended results and similar. The Imagine Austin plan, as you know, had 3 alternative futures, and the citizens spoke very eloquently about picking one best practice to create the plan, but then the whole plan of Imagine Austin is a tool, all best practice tools and everything that's in the toolkit is pretty astounding. So now we just have to figure out how to implement it. These talks are presented annually, and the City of Austin conducts these events to promote the plan. The event is hosted, of course, by the Planning Department, and today's by the Planning Department and the Economic Development Department. I'd like to talk a little bit about our sponsors, so that means just a short list. These are profoundly appreciated. The Austin Chamber, the American Planning Association Central Texas Chapter, University of Texas McCombs School of Business, Texas Enterprise, the University of Texas McCombs School of Business, the Herb Kellner Center for Entrepreneurship. We've got partners that are really doing a fantastic job. Austin Technology Council, is anybody here from that group? It's 200 high-tech companies. Brazos Technology District, anybody here? Tech Draw, Capital Factory. Those are our sponsors. If you'll give them a hand, whether they're here or not, I know they'd appreciate it. And now our speaker, John Harthorne. We had an opportunity to meet John in Boston, and he's quite brilliant and is doing some fantastic stuff. And he is one of those kind of persons that wouldn't take no. He had a vision, and he worked it for years until he made it happen, and now it's probably the most successful program of its kind in the country. It's the world's largest accelerator of businesses and entrepreneurship. He's the founder and chief executive. John earned his MBA from the MIT Sloan School of Management. He has been the grand prize winner of the MIT $100,000 business plan competition. So I guess at MIT he probably didn't have any competition. He won the 2007 Patrick McGovern Award for Entrepreneurship, also at MIT. He led the 10th annual MIT Global Startup Workshop, so from ground zero has done some really brilliant stuff. The goal of his MassChallenge is to provide novice entrepreneurs advice, resources, and funding to implement their ideas, which I think we could appreciate here. His goal is to close the gap between resources that the entrepreneurs don't have and the ability of the ecosystem of investors to connect up with those people. So MassChallenge awards over $1.5 million in cash grants every year and has $10 million of in-kind deals underway. Startups participating 2 years ago, 2010 to 2012, have raised over $350 million and created over 3,000 jobs. So in Austin, as you know, we have a low unemployment rate. But nonetheless, there are still 30,000 people who are unemployed. And by harnessing the ability of the entrepreneurial community, we can also hire the hard-to-employ from those companies. So I think it's all about not only creating the entrepreneurship, but the spin-offs that they create. In 2013, MassChallenge judges completed 5,400 reads. That means they investigated 5,400 companies online, 150 hours of in-person pitches, 900 hours of judge deliberation, and a staggering 500,000 words of written feedback. I mean, this is Shark Tank on steroids. So with that, I'm going to ask John to come up, and if you'll give him a good hand, he'll speak for 45 minutes, and are you taking Q&A during it or just afterwards?
Afterwards.
Afterwards. John Harthorne.
Thank you very much. It is awesome to be here in Austin, a city that shares quite a lot in common with Boston, especially phonetically. So we get that quite a lot. But I had an awesome day full of meetings today with really great people, and I'm very, very enthusiastic about all the stuff that's going on here in Austin. So let me tell you, first I want to just kind of set the stage by telling you a little bit about MassChallenge, the background. Kevin covered a fair amount of it, but let me just sort of go from the top down so you get the complete picture. And then I want to tell you a little bit about the founding story, because I think that will clarify a lot about why we operate the way we do, and also we can draw some lessons from that I think are relevant to Austin. So, okay, so what is MassChallenge? MassChallenge is the largest ever startup accelerator. We accelerate 128 startups at one time. We have 26,000 square feet of office space. That's basically, take a skyscraper, it's an entire floor of a skyscraper, right on the Boston waterfront, with 128 startups working side by side in a large open space. We use a competition format to source them. So we give away this year it'll be $1.75 million of cash as prizes, as grants. We don't take any equity or anything in return for it. And the challenge is to present the highest impact, highest potential new business. So anybody in the world can enter with any startup in any industry from any country. There's no restrictions, or any state anywhere in the world. There's no restrictions. And the idea is, what has the highest potential for significant impact on humanity? That could be any industry. It could be in life sciences. It could be in energy. It could be in high-tech software, webby mobile devices, or robotics. It could be a nonprofit. We have no profit incentive in this. We don't take any equity. We don't take any revenue. It is a free service to the startup. And instead, we are funded by corporate sponsors and by public grants and by billionaire philanthropists and others in the ecosystem who recognize that there's value in supporting high-impact ideas, right? So this year we got 1,657 applications from 50 countries and 40 states. And then we have multiple rounds of judging, as Kevin alluded to, where they do written applications up front. They're reviewed by at least 4 judges, and every applicant receives written feedback that's constructive, as well as ratings on 7 criteria like team, market, how strong is the team, what's the market opportunity like, how strong is the technology, et cetera, and then there's constructive feedback surrounding that. And then we take the top 350 out of that pool and bring them in for in-person pitches or Skype pitches if they're remote. We have people fly from Brazil for a 30-minute interview, though, because we have great judges that are venture capitalists and angel investors, successful entrepreneurs, business leaders and technology experts, et cetera. So they're pretty good panels of 4 to 6 people. And then the 350 we take down to the top 128. Why 128? Well, why not? But it's actually because there was in the heyday of the Boston ecosystem, Route 128 was the Silicon Valley. So Route 128 is the ring road around Boston, basically, right? And that was named to honor the bit count in chips, right? So that is for 64 bits, 128 bits. It was named in honor of that, so we sort of maintained that. So then we take the 128 in. They're invited to come in to Boston, where we give them, for 4 months, they would enter an accelerator program as finalists in the competition. So we kind of put the competition on hold, and they get 4 months of intensive mentorship, training, free office space, access to funding opportunities, media opportunities, you name it, a lot of social activities. We have a lot of free beer. We literally are across the street from the Harthorne brewery, and yes. And they are the best. I strongly recommend you all drink Harthorne tonight to honor them, because they literally give us beer every single day for the entire summer. They signed a contract saying that we have free beer for the entire program, and they just bring it over. They like to do bottles so you can see the label rather than kegs, but still we get cases upon cases of Harthorne beer, which is awesome. And Boston Beer Company, which does Sam Adams, is in the same building as us, their headquarters, but we now have our deal with Harthorne. so we're doing Harthorne. But they also sometimes give us some free beer. So it's actually an interesting side note. Boston, I saw this presentation by the state of Boston, and they went back to say, like, what are all the industries in Boston over the last 400 years of Boston history? The biggest exports, and they wanted to show how everything has changed over time. And it used to be like fishing and lumber, and then it was this and that and all these other, but they also wanted to show like innovation is constant here, we're always changing. But there was one industry that literally has been in the top 5 exports in Massachusetts since the beginning of Massachusetts, and it's beer, right? Which is like, that's something to be proud of. So we're pretty happy about that. That is a good thing. So anyway, we have the accelerator program. They're finalists. They got 4 months of all this free great stuff, and at the end of the 4 months, we have a final round of judging, and we declare 26 teams winners. That round of judging is like billionaire entrepreneurs. We try to focus on really entrepreneurs that are very successful. They know what it's like. They know how difficult it is. It's not about investability. The criteria is which teams have the highest potential for the highest impact on society. That might also be a great investment, and a lot of them are, but about 18% of our startups are nonprofits, and all of them have to pitch what their impact will be. Like, what will the benefit for humanity be? And sometimes that's easy, like I'm curing a disease, or I'm educating children that wouldn't otherwise be educated. Sometimes they're like, I'm changing the way people buy shoes, right? But you have to express it in the form of an impact on the world. It could be, I'm starting $1 billion company, I'm going to make a ton of money, right? But it has to reflect the goal, and what really works well is to focus on the passion of the founder, to really like decipher and identify what is it that you care about as a human being, and what is it that you want to change in the world, because that is the source of greatest action and success, not I want to make some money. Money is not that good of a human motivator. Obviously, it pervades everything we do, and I'm not suggesting that it's totally irrelevant, but it's not as good a human motivator as the psychology, the passion, the drive to fix something is really deeply human. So we try to distill that out of all the startups. 26 teams will be declared winners based on that final round. About 15 to 20 will split the $1.75 million in cash. And all 26 get significant in-kind benefits, more than $10 million, which is more office space, legal services for free airline miles, flights with American Airlines, 3D CAD software, design software, all sorts of goodies and stuff like that. And so we started this the first pro contest was in 2010. Since then, we have accelerated 489 startups, because we started a little bit smaller and got bigger over time. 489 startups. They have raised over they've raised over $600 million because one of them just raised $49 million last week. So 550 is the official number, but we haven't updated with that 50 million. So it's over $600 million of funding. They have over 4,000 jobs now. They have over $350 million of revenue, and their valuations are around $2 billion across that pool. That's a pretty shot in the dark. That's a guess. That valuations are tough for us to figure, but it's somewhere around there. So there's a bunch that are really well positioned and doing really well. A lot of them also are life science companies that aren't going to really matter for 10 more years, right? That they've just got a long road ahead of them. But they look promising, a lot of good stuff. All right, so that is what we do in a nutshell. So let me tell you why we do it. So a couple of weird things about our model. One, we're really big. 128 startups is big. Y Combinator is the next largest that I know of in the US, and they do 85. So we're significantly bigger, 50% bigger than them, and they're 10 plus years old, and we've done 4 classes. So big is one thing. 2 is we don't take any equity. It's free for the startups. That's really unique. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. There's no secret catch. We're not making money out of this. So we're a nonprofit. That's unique. And then 3 is that we support all the industries. So it's more typically the accelerators are software, web, mobile things, primarily because most of the accelerators are run by investors. There's nothing wrong with that, but they're run by investors, and that means they're looking for investment, which means they want something low cost, quick turn, good ROI in a short period of time to meet their fund cycle, et cetera. So we don't care. I want to change the world. If we can create the next Red Cross and it's going to take 10 years to get there, let's do it, right? That's good. So why do we do that, though? How did we get here? So I graduated from MIT, and I wanted to do a startup, but you graduate with 150 grand worth of debt, and I was married with a 1-year-old, and I don't have a trust fund, so that means I have to work. So I had to go get a job and pay down my debt. And I also didn't have a great startup idea. I did win the 100K business plan competition, with 2 engineers, and it was a very cool idea, but they were PhD students, not interested in running it in the short term. It was a medical device company, wasn't gonna raise money for a long time, probably wasn't gonna work, and I wasn't the guy to run it anyway, so it wasn't really an option. And I had an offer from Bain & Company to be a strategy consultant. So I thought, all right, I don't really want to be a consultant, but it's a lot of money. It's a really good salary. There's a signing bonus, a good salary, and then an end-of-year bonus. And I thought, all right, I'll go to the end-of-year bonus, I'll take that, and I'll pay down my debt, and I'll go do a startup. That'll be my thing. I got to pay in and take care of my family, so that's what I did. So I went to Bain & Company. And it's a great company. They're super smart, amazing people. I hated it. It gave me hives. At the beginning, it was fun. And then at the end, I was physically ill going to work. It hurt, and I could not bite my tongue, and I would say bad things that I was supposed to say, and I really struggled with it, okay? And I did actually, to be fair, I did well. I worked hard and I did well, and I was in the top quartile for the bonus and all that sort of stuff. But I didn't enjoy it at all, and it was grating at my soul, and I was becoming kind of a bad person. I was snappy, and now I had 2 kids, and I was not a good father, and I was distracted and working really long hours, and I was grumpy, and I thought I would save up all this money, but in fact, I just bought myself stuff to make myself feel better. So I bought a lot of nice clothes, I got a car, and I was spending, I wasn't really saving that much either, and I was unhappy, and so that big bonus was coming around, and I was like, all right, now it's time to figure out my startup and get out of here. But so I graduated business school in 2007, so my first big bonus was December 2008. So if you guys remember what the world looked like back then, December 2008 was on the precipice. We were in rapid free fall downward in the economy. By March 2009, we hit bottom. So in December 2008, we were just sliding rapid. We didn't know where the bottom was. And people were talking, it was this was when the Dow was going down 200-300 points every day for weeks, right? And it was talk of the next Great Depression, bread lines, 10 years of stagnation and loss. And so I was like, that sounds ugly outside. And I'm pretty good at my job, even if I hate it, and the salary's great. So maybe I should stick around. Now I have 2 kids, and I didn't really save that much money anyway. So I was really nervous, but I hated my job, and I decided I have to be committed to it. So I brainstormed like crazy. What kind of startup can I launch in that economy with no money available and everybody fleeing risk and all that? But can I repossess homes? Can I refinance debt? But I hate all of those things. None of that is fun, and I don't know anything about them. So I couldn't come up with anything, and I literally wrote out a bunch of business plans, crumpled them all up, and threw them away. And then I was lying in bed Sunday night at 3 in the morning, mad at the world and full of self-pity and thinking, this sucks. I have to get up in 2 hours to go to this job that I hate. I'm going to be a consultant forever. Why? Because fucking Wall Street ruined the world, right? Those guys are so selfish and greedy. They destroyed the entire economy for everybody, and now I am going to have to suffer, and it sucks. The world is just too greedy, and I was thinking about all the stuff I learned at business school, and you have 2 very simple aspects of a business. You have to create something of value, right? You make a pie, and then you get to capture some of that value. You get to keep a slice, and you share the rest with the community, right? That's the covenant, that's the contract that we have with the world. So, but we're not making anything, right? We collapsed because everybody was taking profit out, and nobody was making anything, right? And the core business strategy you learn of Porter's 5 forces, everybody's an enemy. Your customer, you're antagonistic to your customer. Your goal is to screw over your customer, screw over your employees, screw over your suppliers, make sure there's no competitors, and then take the biggest slice of the pie and keep it for yourself. And then you're sitting on this mountain of money, and everybody else is screwed, right? That's a terrible system. That's a bad universe. You don't want to live there, right? Even if you're rich, that's not fun. And that's what we did. And then we did that until we fought so hard over slices of pie that we ran out of pie. We stopped making pie. So we don't create anything anymore. And literally the financial services companies mocking their biggest clients with negative names of what idiots they are and what fools and what their money is just for us. If you're making fun of your customers, you should quit your business. That's not a good sign, right? So and I'm mad about all of this. I'm angry at the world, thinking that's and we should be creating more value and not so focused on capturing value. And here I am. I want to start a new business and create growth and jobs and solve problems and create wealth. I'm one of the good guys. I'm trying to help here, and they're ruining it for me. All I want to do is create a job. We need those more than ever. and yet it's never been harder to do it, somebody should fix that, right? Somebody should fix that problem. It's devastating to me, all full of self-pity and whininess, and damn Wall Street, and somebody should fix my problem. And I was like half dazed and kind of fell asleep. And I remember like almost like an adrenaline shot to the heart, where I sat up straight in like intense awareness. I remember the specific noises I could hear, the temperature differential between the cover, under the covers and outside the covers. And it was like this, and it almost like an existential fear. I was like clammy and sweaty and like awkward and I just realized like, I'm somebody. Why don't I fix that? Like, nobody's fixing it, and I'm so pissed at all of them for not fixing it, but I'm not fixing it. Like, why? Who's gonna do it if it's always gonna be somebody? Well, why don't I just be that somebody and fix it? And it was like immediately, like I didn't even think, it wasn't like a logical process of planning it. It like crystallized, and I knew exactly what I had to do. And it was all the stuff that I had seen at MIT, where they have a competition that creates heroes. It attracts people with prize money and prestige. It automatically, every year, creates heroes that are rewarded on stage in front of their peers. They get into the newspaper. You're demonstrating this is a heroic thing to do, and we love these people, and we applaud for them and cheer for the creators that are in their basements and garages slaving away while the bankers are up on the top 10 stories of the building ruining the world. No offense to any bankers in the room, and we have bank sponsors who are great. But this is, that we need to empower these creators who are solving problems. And so the competition model accomplishes that. The challenge is there's a lot of people with ideas. Everybody thinks they have the next Facebook, and almost none of them do, right? And so the resource people with money, they want to help those guys, but they can't tell who's who. Is it good? Is it dumb? I don't know. There's so many of them. Everybody thinks that they're smart. And so the competition model automatically filters them and says, these are the best, right? And rewards them. And then it makes it easy for the resources to say, hey, I have some money to invest, and supposedly you're good. So it solves the equation for everybody in the community and makes it much easier. And so then the original conception of this actually included for-profit. It was for-profit, and we would have a fund, and we would take equity and all of this, just because logically, if you're starting a business, it's got to be for-profit. There's got to be something in it for me. That was part of our plan. As we shopped it around to the community, we realized more and more that it just wouldn't work, right? That it wouldn't have the same impact. We could do it, but only at a small scale. And the only way to make it actually truly effective was to give it away, was to say, you know what? We're going to forego our stake. Here we are mad at the world that they're taking too much profit out and not focusing enough on creating value. Let's only create value. Let's not take any. We'll take salaries to pay our bills, but no profit, no upside. We'll leave it all in the system, and that'll create nice, virtuous cycles and exponential growth. So that's what we did. We ended up getting funding pretty quickly. The governor announced it. The beauty of the model is everybody loves it. It's not threatening to the government. We're not driving around in yellow Porsches, with our name on the license plate. So it doesn't look like we're screwing the world over. We're doing a good thing, and it's a nonprofit. We're creating jobs. The corporations love it because we're not competing with them over any money or any funding, and it's a nonprofit, so they can donate and stamp their logo on a nice, good community thing. The investors like it because we don't mess up the term sheet. So we're doing their job for them, filtering everybody and handing them deal flow, and we don't take anything from them in the process. The universities love it because their students can graduate and go into a program that's free, that isn't abusing them and being aggressive with them and their equity. And they know us because it's similar to the university model. The press loves it because it's so counterintuitive. Like, is the only way to create profit to not take profit? Right? They love it, right? It's like, why is the best accelerator a nonprofit? There's like this great, this is crazy. My mind doesn't understand. And they love it, and the public loves it, and then and the entrepreneurs love it because it's free, right? And then we ended up getting 27,000 square feet of office space on the 14th floor of a brand new skyscraper donated, all the furniture donated, all this in-kind stuff, and it has really just taken off. So that's why we do it. We do it because we want it, because we think philosophically we need to empower the creators. They are people that are creating jobs, solving problems. Even the big companies now that may annoy you from time to time that are making tons of money, like the Googles and the Amazons, right? For a long time, they just gave it away, right? They weren't making any profit for a long time. So if you could have thousands of startups like that, or tens of thousands, they're all just contributing for years, right? Until they've earned the right to extract. So that's very powerful for the community, and they're solving new problems, et cetera. So philosophically is the one thing. The second thing is it turns out that doing good is actually helps you to do well. So, by giving it away, that means that there's no reason for any startup not to join. So we get the best startups out of MIT, out of Harvard, out of Northeastern, out of Tufts, out of Babson, out of all the local universities, and people will fly in from Brazil to come join the program, or fly in from all around the world. 25% of our startups are from outside of the country, 25% outside of Massachusetts, and 50% from Massachusetts. So people will travel to go do it because it's free, and we get our choice. And they'll turn down equity-based accelerator programs to take ours, because why would you give away 5 or 10% equity when you can get the same access to people for free? So it works really well. So that's one of the first lessons, is a couple of the quick lessons. And then I want to talk a little bit about Austin. Let me do a quick time check. And then I want to open for questions. So some of the lessons that we learned is, at the end of the day, you got to be solving a problem. All right? So like I wanted to do a startup because I thought it would be cool and I could make some money. I thought it would be fun and enjoyable life, and I could be my own boss. I didn't have to follow orders, which I'm not that good at. And that would be great. And probably I'll be super rich and famous, and it'll be really awesome. I'll be like Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, and it'll be awesome, really cool. So I set out for this like thing that I wanted to be, but you can't do that. Like, you can't just picture yourself at a place and then wait. You won't arrive. You have to actually take some actions to get you there. And the only way to do that is to find something that's broken and fix it. And the thing is, the challenge is that sometimes it's clear that like there probably is a lot of money in this, but a lot of times there isn't. Probably most of the time there isn't, because you're doing something new. If it's good, it's new, and that means nobody's paying for it now. If they were paying for it, it wouldn't be new. There's already a business there. You're doing something that isn't being done, so you're taking this incredible like step of faith that like, hopefully this will be worth some money to somebody. And you can have all these hypotheses about where the money will come from and who the customer is, and you're wrong like 95% of the time. You just can't know until you start doing it. So you have to do it really for the love of the thing. Like, I really care about the problem and I just want to fix it, and hopefully I'll make some money, but no matter what, I'll be really happy. Like, I'll be really fulfilled doing it, and I think it'll be good for people. So, and if you do it for that, then, ironically, you can actually probably make some money off of it. Like, so, I mean, we're not making any money, we're still a nonprofit, so maybe I'm wrong. It could very well be wrong. But I would say that I'm better positioned today to make money if I wanted to than I ever have been. I have 5 billionaires on my board, right? And we have Verizon and Microsoft and IBM and Fidelity and all these huge companies that are sponsors and partners of ours that look to us to help them define how they think about innovation and interact with the startup community. So it's a position of real central power and opportunity, and we got there by giving it all away, which is kind of ironic. So, but I think that's really important. I really think that you have to do, like, you should never do a startup because you think you'll make money. Because in fact, the expected value is negative. Like, chances are much more likely you're going to ruin your life and your relationships than it is that you're going to make a lot of money. It just doesn't happen very often. The odds are way stacked against you. It's like practicing basketball so you can be an NBA player. Like, the odds are low. There's not that many spots, and there's a lot of competition, right? It's very similar odds in startups. You're not likely to become Google. It's just there's not that many that make it there. So you can't do it for that. But if you do it for the love of the thing, your chances are actually higher of becoming Google. So focus on that and find something that you love and you're passionate about and do it. So a couple other quick thoughts, and I will tie it back to Austin, which I think is in a great position and has a lot of really good people and opportunity. So all right. So another key to our equation, or our like the sort of insight that we had that worked really well, is especially relative to startups here, is that it takes a village to launch a startup. It's kind of a hokey thing, but it's true. So you need entrepreneurs, obviously, right? That's like key component. They're going to need some funding, so you got to have investors. They're going to need legal advice because they have to incorporate, and probably if they're doing something really new, then they're going to encounter laws that are in their way. There's going to be some regulatory changes needed and other things they have to dodge and worry about. There's founder agreements and equity splits and all sorts of other crazy stuff. So you're going to need some good lawyers. You're going to need accountants. You're going to need customers, of course, right? So you have to reach those customers. So you're going to have to be able to promote yourself. You're going to need other team members, because if you grow, there's no way you're going to be able to do it by yourself. You need some mentors and advisors to advise you on all sorts of business challenges in many different areas. So you need this, and you need the government to actually care and demonstrate to the public that this is a priority, and hopefully deploy some money, and certainly remove obstacles and maybe come out and shout about startup stuff at events and bring the press and other things with them, which is good. So you need all of those players to come together. And now the problem is, and this comes back to the mentality of selfishness, which is totally an obstacle, is like literally the thing that's wrong with America right now, and this is our biggest problem, is that people are too focused on short-term gain, and it gets in the way of actually doing anything valuable. So think about this equation. You have all these people, they all would benefit from knowing the next Google, the next Facebook, the next Microsoft, IBM, whatever, right? They all want that. So, but if in the classic model, I'm an investor, I'll be like, I need to get more deals. I'll go hang out at MIT more. And then where I find a bunch of other investors, and we try to box each other out and fight over the entrepreneur. And the lawyers are doing the same, and everybody else finds themselves in the same places trying to elbow each other out of the way and fight over the deals. That is a model based on an assumption that there's a fixed number of startups that is not changeable. And we're going to fight over who gets the lion's share of those startups. But here's the deal that has worked well for MassChallenge. What we do is we make the pie bigger, right? We're not divvying up slices. Like, forget the slices. That's not even valuable. What if we could make 10 times the number of pies? Then everybody wins, right? Then your slice can stay the same size relative, and if the pie increases 10 times, you're better off. And the fact is, to do that, you need everybody to coordinate. They just have to collaborate. And so the competition model is the way that we identify to do it. There's probably a dozen of other ways. But if you use the money, the prize money, entrepreneurs all want money. So they'll come after that money because they think that it's not actually that much money, to be honest with you. $100,000 grand prize is not a game-changing amount of money for a high-tech startup. It's not going to change their life. But it's enough to attract them in their attention. So they come out like a salt lick, and all the animals come out. And then all the other ones are like, ooh, look, all the good startups are over there. Let's go work with them. And now you have them all in one place, and you can coordinate them as if it's one factory, as if it's one entity. And you're like, all right, startup, number one, whatever, come over here. What do you need? You need lawyers? Okay, there's like 50 of the best lawyers in Boston over there. And there's so many of them, they'll compete with you, and they'll give you free. So go talk to them. And then what do you know? You also need some funding. Okay, there's all the best investors in town, and we've removed the ones that are obnoxious and cheat you and are bad. So we've got already a curated system here, and all the other startups talk to each other and teach each other, and the governor loves it and comes and waves on the cameras and takes pictures with the jobs being created, and the mayor comes out and says, look at this great development and all these new offices and all this stuff, and everybody loves it, and now they actually are friendly, and they're not boxing each other out, they're sharing deals, and they're saying, oh, that's okay, you take that one, I'll take this one, and we'll grow this thing bigger, and then everybody's better off, and then they want to get more, and you get this nice virtuous cycles, and it grows. So I would say, and this is something that I really like about Austin, so far all the people that I've met get this, and not everybody gets this. Like, this is not obvious to people in a lot of places. I won't mention too many places, but New York is one in particular. But where it's like, but where's the profit? Like, I just get it over and over again. I'm like, it's a nonprofit. There's no profit in it. It's not, that's not, but they're like, so how do you make money then? How are you getting the money out of it? Like, how are you getting rich off of this? I'm like, I'm not getting rich. There's no rich. It's not what it's about. Like, we're fixing a thing. And it's like, I just get like frustrated. I'm like, I don't know I can't say it any more times. But it seems like this is a system that gets it. I think it's a lot of like the arts and the culture, and there's like a real sense of like generosity and that there's contributions to the community that also have a self-benefit and gain, and that we're all better off with a stronger community. So that would be the other sort of lesson that I would say that's a really big deal that I would throw in there. And the fact is that all the other players, like some of the investors I was really mad at the beginning, is we'd have meetings with them and I would be like, hey, so we're going to send you all this deal flow, and it'd be great, and maybe you could come and buy some beer and pizza for the group one night. And they'd be mad at me, like, what are you trying to get money from me? I took this meeting for you because I was going to give you advice, and you want money from me? Screw you, to get all mad. I'm like, they were like really greedy seeming and aggressive, but now they're super generous, and they engage and they get it. And like, the fact is that everybody in the system is better off collaborating, and they want to do it. They just don't know they want to, and you have to like trick them into doing it. There's like a little magic trick involved. So, okay, so that's the end of that part. And then, so in terms of, so we are in expansion mode. We want to do, our mission has always been Renaissance. Like, wouldn't you rather live in a period of Renaissance or in a period of greed and selfishness, right? I think it's kind of an obvious one. So we would rather live in a world of Renaissance. And what if you could do that? Like, what would you have to do? What would it take? You have 2 billion people, maybe more, joining the middle class around the world over the next decade. What world will they enter? Like, what kind of we are the leaders of that world, that economy. So we get to define the experience that they will find when they enter our economic circle. So will it be one of profit extraction and greed, and that we're abusing them to like screwing them over as employees or customers or whatever on that model? Or will it be one where together we decide to quadruple the size of the value or quintuple or more, right? And then we also will get richer. Like, it's not bad for us. It's not like they're taking. It's that together we make something bigger and we all win, right? So that's our ultimate mission, is to bring it everywhere in the world. I often say all the populated planets. I mean all the populated continents. To all the populated continents. And we'll want to open 10 offices over the next 5 years and bring this to everybody free and see what we can do. So as we look around the world, Austin is on our list. So that's why, in part, I'm here. So we've been down to South by Southwest. We've been here a couple of times. We've talked to a lot of people, and we've found great people here. And there's a lot of things that I like a lot about Austin. So one is it has a very creative population, which I think is super key. Is like really, 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 really important. So you got to have people that think differently, and you got to have, and the sort of art world, art, music, design is extremely well suited for entrepreneurship because it's customer oriented, right? It's like experience oriented, whereas the typical failure for especially a technology startup is fall in love with a technology and then forget that there's a customer somewhere. And so like, yeah, but nobody wants that. Like, I had a Russian team that I love them, they're great people, but they had developed a medical device, monitoring device that had some, mobile technology that could phone in like your heart rate and other stuff like that. And it had one of their selling points when they got to us was that it can monitor your blood pressure, and it's 10 times more accurate than any other system on the market. And I was like, all right, but your blood pressure is like 120/80. So what are you doing, like 120.1? Like, what is that? So what is that? Why do I care about the accuracy of it? And they're like, well, it's more accurate. It's just way more precise. So it's like way better than the other thing. And you're like, but nobody cares. Like, that's not valuable to anybody. Like, nobody wants that. And it was like their first bullet of why you should invest in them. And I was like, that is not relevant. That's just falling in love with your own technology. Make it less sensitive. That's actually a waste of effort. Nobody wants that. But the art mentality has a sense of like it has to be experienced, and it's that moment that matters, right? It's one of the moments that matters. So that's something that's really good. Also, it's a growing city. It's a very attractive, fun place to live. You need to have a place that's fun especially for young people, but for everybody. You have established good businesses here that have money. You have maybe not yet fully developed, but a pretty solid nascent investor community. You have access to, you have a mentality of looking outward. So we had a visit from Austin, 100 people came to Boston and talked to us. When Silicon Valley people come to Boston, they lecture us. They come in and they're like, here's why you can't do a startup in Boston. And you're like, what? Do you want to hear what we have to say or just yell at us, right? But Austin came and listened, which is a good sign, right? So it's collaborative. There's a very collaborative mentality and population. And I just feel like there's so much opportunity here. So it's on our list. We'd like to do it. We're not probably a month away. We have to raise a bunch of money, and we have a bunch of other things in the basket. But I would love to see MassChallenge come here, and I would also just love, independent of that, for Austin to do really well because it's a good personality, it's a good culture and people, and the world should have more of it. And so I will do whatever I can to help you guys. And I would also note, if anybody wants to copy the MassChallenge model, they are willing to have it. And you may take it, and I will set up phone calls with you and tell you how to do it. There's no profit in it, so I don't. If you're going to do the work, it's all the better for me. And we'll coordinate. But it works brilliantly. And it is a lot of effort, but it is wonderful to do. And we already have a couple copycats around the world that we coordinate with and help actively. So.